It is 2:30 in the afternoon, and the blistering heat baking the Strait of Hormuz is about to become the absolute least of your worries. Squint out at that endlessly deep blue water. You will see 4 colossal American oil vessels entirely surrounded by Iranian fast boats. They look just like a pack of starved wild dogs circling the port. In this exact moment, Tehran has decided to pull the trigger on the most unhinged gamble of the 21st century. They are hijacking United States ships and unleashing a relentless tidal wave of 350 deadly cruise missiles right at the exploding Arleigh Burke-class destroyers. The generals in Iran are celebrating. They truly think they have just masterminded a brand new Pearl Harbor, fully expecting to reduce billions of dollars of American naval dominance into floating scorching. But there is a harsh, unforgiving reality around missiles. Their own pride has completely blinded them to the fact that the very split second their first weapon left was launched, the clock started ticking on the absolute deletion of their entire military system. America does not panic, and America certainly does not lie. What you are about to see unfold is nowhere near fair fight. It is a clinical, technological execution. It is a demonstration of force so chilling and so final that it will plant seeds of pure blood into the minds of anyone who ever dreams of stepping up to the plate. 45 minutes is all the clock needs to turn things around. As greatest achievement of this era. 2,500 perfectly guided American weapons are about to meet 350 Iranian targets. The only possible outcome is complete irreversible devastation. Welcome to Operation Underground. This is where the rest of the globe learns exactly what happens when you decide to test the boundless fury of the American superpower. Do not think that match a missile empire that lies on our face of but before we dive deep into how this all plays out, drop a comment and let me know what country you are watching. Alright, let us get into it. To truly wrap our heads around the pure insanity of this event, they gave this mission a grand title, calling it Operation Problem. It sounds like something out of an epic. It is nothing short of an insult to basic modern warfare. Their big idea was to swarm the water with speakers strapped with cruise missiles to blind the American senses, while at the exact same time firing out 80 Schedule 2 medium-range ballistic missiles to flood the zone. The commanders of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps genuinely thought that the blinding afternoon glare and heavy commercial boat traffic would create a blind spot in the Aegis combat system. They convinced themselves that the American ships, no matter how advanced, would simply drown under the sheer volume of incoming fire. Just look at the arsenal they flew at the problem. 120 anti-ship cruise missiles, 150 Shahed 136 suicide drones, and dozens of special operations teams spreading across the waves. They call it a swarm strategy. I call it a masterclass in collective self-destruction. Their fatal mistake comes from completely misunderstanding the digital divide between watchers and watchers. While the officers in Tehran are relying on the United States has completely broken the rule of the medical system. Imagine these Iranian hallucinating about a world where oil skyrockets to $400 a barrel. They are picturing the folks in Washington getting down on their knees, begging for a peace treaty to save their stranded soldiers. They think they are hunting a wounded animal, but what they are actually doing is trying to trap a Category 5 hurricane with a torn-up fishing net. They completely forgot that an Arleigh Burke-class 11 destroyer is not just a boat with guns on it. It is a massive, floating supercomputer that talks directly to the United States Space Force. So while those men in Iran are slapping each other on the back every time a rocket launches, American artificial intelligence has already mapped out every single flight path, figured out exactly what kind of warheads are coming, and stamped a customized death certificate for every single one of them. The overconfidence of the weak is an incredibly intoxicating drink, and Tehran is chugging it right down to the bottom of the glass. Fast forward to 2:32 in the afternoon. Look up at the sky over the Strait of Hormuz. It is not peaceful anymore. The blue is violently scarred by 350 streaks of white smoke. These are literal messengers of death screaming through the air at Mach 3, Mach 5, and even Mach 7, launched straight out of coastal strongholds like Bandar Abbas. The Iranian troops are losing their minds cheering, completely convinced they have unleashed an apocalypse that will drown the pride of the American Navy. But step inside the combat direction center of those Arleigh Burke destroyers, and the room is so dead quiet you could hear a pin drop. Why is everyone so utterly calm? Because for the American sailors, this is not a desperate fight for their lives. It is just a math problem, and the solution was already locked in before the enemy even finished pressing the button. Let us talk about the invisible shield in the sky. 35,000 kilometers above the Earth, the space-based infrared system satellite network is watching. These things have sensors so impossibly sharp that they instantly picked up the heat signatures from the Iranian launch pads. It took exactly 2 seconds. Let me say that again so it sinks in. 2 seconds for the artificial intelligence to calculate the trajectories, categorize the weapons, and feed the targeting data straight into the Aegis Baseline 11 network floating on the ocean. Iran thinks they are pulling off a sneaky ambush in the afternoon sun, but they are actually standing wide out in the open under the microscope of an orbital titan. Now shift your attention to the absolute brain of the defense group, the ANSPY-6D1 radar. This is not just a spinning dish. It is 30 times stronger than anything that came before it. It can spot something the size of a golf ball screaming through the air at hypersonic speeds from hundreds of miles away. While the Iranian crew is still banging on their Soviet-era control panels trying to get a clear picture, the American radar has already sorted all 350 incoming threats into primary targets, secondary targets, and harmless decoys. Then, the outer layer of the shield goes to work. The Mach 41 vertical launch tubes rip open, and the SM-6 Block 1B interceptors blast into the sky with a roar that literally rattles the ocean. The craziest part about the SM-6 is that it does not even need an explosive warhead to take down those Casualties ballistic missiles. It relies entirely on hit-to-kill technology. It is just pure, raw kinetic energy. Picture 2 objects smashing into each other at a combined speed of 15,000 miles per hour. There is no standard fiery explosion. The Iranian weapon is simply vaporized on a molecular level. It turns into completely harmless metallic confetti before it even has a chance to reach the stratosphere. This is not just defending a ship, it is a clinical deletion. But the assault is not over. 120 Iranian cruise missiles drop down low, trying to skim right over the waves to slip under the radar. It is a totally desperate move, and America counters it with pure science fiction. Enter the 60-kilowatt Helios Laser system. If you watch the monitors, there are no massive fireballs or plumes of black smoke. Instead, the incoming missiles just suddenly catch fire from the inside out. Their delicate guidance brains are completely cooked by concentrated beams of energy moving at the literal speed of light. The Helios system melts down these multi-million-dollar threats for just a handful of pennies per shot, turning Tehran and Abbas as grand offensive into a very expensive joke. Finally, we get to the absolute last line of defense. As 150 Shahid suicide drones swarm into the 20-mile danger zone, they do not meet fighter jets. They fly right into the meat grinder of the Phalanx close-in weapons system and the RIM-116 Ram missiles. The sound of the Phalanx is terrifying. It spits out 4,500 rounds of 20mm armor-piercing lead every single minute, throwing up a literal wall of molten metal. Those cheap plastic and fiberglass drones get absolutely chewed to pieces like gnats flying into an industrial bug trap. By 2:38 in the afternoon, barely 8 minutes after the whole nightmare kicked off, every single one of those 350 Iranian targets has vanished from the stage. The final score is 350 to 0. There is not a single drop of American blood on the deck, and not even a fresh scratch on the paint of the destroyers. Tehran pushed all their chips right into the middle of the table in one massive block, totally unaware they were playing against a house that can literally bend the laws of physics. Their obsession with throwing massive numbers at the problem just got crushed beneath the boot of unmatched technological superiority. And now that the defensive firestorm has settled, the American war machine is ready to strike back. At 2:45 in the afternoon, while the charred scraps of Iran and Apo's Grand Armada are still drifting to the bottom of the Persian Gulf. A short, devastating order comes straight down from the Situation Room in the White House. There is an unbreakable rule in the American playbook. If you actually have the nerve to pull the trigger on the United States, you will never get the opportunity to do it twice. America does not play the tit-for-tat game. That is how weak countries fight. America performs a massive, aggressive surgery, ripping out the enemy and Apo's ability to fight straight from the root. While the coastal radar operators in Bandar Abbas are still staring blankly at their screens wondering where their massive missile wave went, the execution ordered for their entire military infrastructure has already been stamped and sealed. The efficiency is deeply terrifying. The United States does not pause to see how much damage they took. They do not wait around for empty diplomatic speeches at the United Nations. The exact second the initial launch was confirmed, Operation Amber Wrath went fully live. This is not about getting even. This is about systemic erasure. Take a look at the massive flight deck of the USS Abraham Lincoln. Baking under the relentless sun, it transforms into an absolute factory of nightmares for anyone on the receiving end. 65th generation F-35C Lightning IIs and F-A-18UF Super Hornets scream off the catapults into the sky. Their weapon bays are absolutely stuffed with the most precise munitions on the planet. These jets are not just planes, they are individual executioners plugged right into a massive web of destruction. The stealthy F-35C jets push in first, hunting down and frying the enemy air defense grids using AGM-88G anti-radiation missiles. Right behind those come the Stormbreaker smart bombs, which are designed to hunt down and obliterate moving vehicles no matter how bad the weather gets. That is 240 next-level weapons raining down just from the carrier jets alone. But that is literally just the warm-up act. The real horror for Tehran comes from ghosts in the sky that their vintage screens will never even register. 5 B-21 Raider strategic bombers, the absolute peak of modern stealth, have been coasting silently through Iranian airspace since before the first enemy rocket even took off. They are packed with 72 AGM-158B2 long-range stealth missiles apiece. A single one of these bombers can wipe out 24 massive targets like ammo dumps, subterranean command posts, and missile silos from thousands of miles away. And do not even forget about the silent killers waiting below the waves. Deep in the freezing black water of the Persian Gulf, 8 Virginia-class nuclear submarines get the green light. Their vertical launch doors swing wide open, and 400 Tomahawk Block 5 cruise missiles burst right through the surface of the ocean, leaving heavy trails of smoke as they bank directly toward Tehran and Apo's most vital command centers. Just think about the brutal contrast here. Iran scraped together everything they had to fire 350 outdated weapons, praying for a lucky hit. America answers the doorbell by dropping 2,500 perfectly guided smart bombs on their front porch. America does not shoot to send a warning. America shoots to guarantee that when these 45 minutes are up, Tehran will not even have the tools to be a threat for the next 100 years. Operation Amber Wrath does not hit the brakes until every single target painted red on the map is nothing but a smoking crater. The afternoon sky is about to turn pitch black from the massive fires consuming their once proud naval yards and military ports. This is the absolute redefinition of global dominance. Keep your eyes open, because you are watching a regional bully get its teeth kicked in over the course of just a few heartbeats. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the sweltering Gulf heat is no longer the only thing making it hard to breathe. Thick, toxic smoke from the obliterated speedboats and coastal missile batteries is choking the sky. But for the American forces, that was just clearing the driveway. The truly ruthless, cold-blooded phase of Operation Amber Wrath is just getting started. They call it surgical future excision. You have to understand that a true superpower never throws a punch just to win the fight together. They strike to completely rip away the enemy and Apo's ability to wage war for the next 3 generations. Look at what is unfolding directly over Tehran and Apo's air defense umbrella. The A-18G Growler squadrons are initiating a massive, Total
I'll stop.
electronic blackout.
I'm running around constantly,
Using the revolutionary
asking for information and trying
ALQ-249
to feed it
jamming
up to air
pods,
boss, the
they
handler,
take the
to
mighty
flight deck
S-400
team,
batteries
just so everyone
and
can be on
all
the
of the
same
cheap
page and we can make
knockoffs
the right
Iran loves to
decision
brag
at that
about,
time in
and
case
instantly
something
brick
is
them.
not going the way we
They
planned.
turn them into useless
in the
piles of
bubble,
junk.
a lot
The
more
Iranian
information is
crews
being
are
able to
staring
be
at
fed
screens
to me
full of nothing but
quicker,
blinding
and I
white
can get
static,
that information out
completely
sooner as
oblivious
well.
to the fact that death is falling on them from
Lieutenant
every
Sam Pucci,
conceivable
callsign
angle.
Beaky. I'm from Perry,
Sliding
Georgia,
right
and
to
I'm
that
currently
massive
stationed aboard
electronic
USS
blind
Nimitz
spot.
as a shooter.
24 stealthy
So when we're shooting
F-35C fighters slip deep into the absolute heart of the country.
We can shoot from the
They are
waist,
not
which is
wasting
here,
time
starting
on
at
regular
pulse 3
army
and 4, as
tanks.
well as the bow,
They are going
which is
straight
our
for the
catapults
brain
1
of the
and 2.
Iranian
Basically,
weapons
the
program.
coordination piece there,
Places
right?
like the
Cats 3 and
Isfahan
4 here
Research
in the waist
Facility
also serves
and the
as a
massive
landing area
Parch
for all the
military
aircraft.
complex.
So,
Here,
the catapults
guided by
here require a
artificial
little bit
intelligence,
more, efficiency in order to
144
clear the
Stormbreaker
LA
smart
so that
bombs
aircraft can
drop
begin to
loose.
land.
These
Typically,
things
we'll
are
start with
engineering
the waist
marvels.
as the priority,
They actually
and
sort
shoot as
their
many
own
as we
targets
can
on the
before
way
the next
down
wave of
and can
aircraft
punch
come in
right
to
through
land,
thick
and
layers
the
of
bow will be
reinforced
shooting as
concrete.
well.
Every single assembly
We have
line
a couple
making ballistic
primary ways
missiles,
that we shoot.
every
We have
chemical
case
testing
1 and
lab,
case 2,
and
as
every
well
uranium
as
centrifuge
case
that
3.
Tehran poured decades and
When
billions
weather's
of
great,
dollars
we call
into
it
his
case
ground
1.
right down to
That's
find
just a
out.
nice sunny day.
The
As
military
far
is
as
not
interval,
just
right,
blowing
so we
up the
still have
rockets
some
around
things
fire
we need to
today.
work between
They are
the waist
making
cats and bow
absolutely
cats. For
certain
the most
Iran
part,
cannot
we
build
can pretty
another
much
one
shoot
for
freely
7
with a
years.
few exceptions.
It is
During
an
case 1,
industrial
so there's
slaughter
no
on a
coordination
historic scale.
required between the
And
bow
just
and
to
the
hammer
waist.
the final
We
nail
just
into
shoot
the
them as we
coffin,
get them,
the
and it's
massive
pretty much the
B-52
fastest method that
Skyfortress
we can
bombers
shoot.
roll in to have the very last word. 350
As the
incredibly
weather
precise
gets worse,
bombs
or we
wash
go to
over
night
15
operation,
logistics
we'll
runways
go to
and
case
10
2 or
major
we'll go to
oil
case 3,
refineries
which
like
is
a
going to be our
storm of
most
pure
restricted
judgment.
shooting.
The fires are
So
so
we'll
massive
usually go off,
and
we'll
the
have the
impacts are
waist
so
go first,
violently
they'll let us
heavy
know
that
when our
earthquake
final
monitors
ready,
all over
and
the
at that
Middle
point
East
we'll hook
actually
the
record
aircraft and start
tremors
the
hitting a
evolution on
5
the
on
bow.
the Richter scale.
And we'll call each other's
This
final
is
readies
not
as
the
we
normal
go,
war.
and that naturally
This is
is
the
about a
forced
30-second
deprogramming of a nation to
interval
overrun
between us, and that
undeniable
allows us to
violence.
keep safe,
Let
during
us
an
look at the
otherwise,
final brutal
potentially unsafe situation.
350 ancient
That
Iranian
case 3,
rockets fired in
the
exchange
bow
for
and waist has to work
2,500
together a lot more
state-of-the-art
closely.
American
When
weapons
we're in
dropping
the
on their
catapult
heads.
bow bubble for the waist bubble,
5,800 of
we
Iranian
have a lot more
outposts.
means of
As most
communication
elite
between our
military
sound-powered
and
phones as well
scientific
as an
minds
actual
wiped out
hardline
in an
telephone.
instant, while the United States did not
Being a
lose a
shooter
single
is,
soldier.
in my opinion, the best job on the
24
ship
critical
because
bases and
you get to
60
be a part
massive
of
pieces
such
of
a
infrastructure completely
dynamic
scrubbed off the
team
satellite
of
maps.
many departments and
An
divisions,
entire massive
coming
military
together on
machine,
the ship
carefully
to
patched
launch and
together over
recover
50
aircraft.
years,
It's amazing
turned
to see. It's
completely
amazing
to
to be a
ash in
part of.
under
So,
45 minutes.
from the bridge to the tower,
That is the
deflecting
true
deck
cost of
control,
blinding
the
evil.
hangar bay,
That is the
on the
price
flight
tag
deck,
for
air
trying to
wing,
flip the table on the
multiple
global order
divisions of
protected by
department.
the
Everyone
United
is
States.
doing their part
It is a
and
complete,
doing it well and
totally
safely.
humiliating, and entirely
For me to be a
unfixable
part of
collapse.
that and
At 3:15 in the
kind of
afternoon,
experience
check your
the
watch again.
teamwork
Exactly
is quite
45
amazing.
minutes have passed since that first
I really
Iranian
enjoy it.
rocket
It's a
left
great
the
feeling.
rail
It's very
and tried
rewarding.
to rewrite history. In less time than it takes to watch half of a soccer game, a country that loudly called itself the master of the region has lost every ounce of military muscle it spent half a century and endless billions trying to build. The heavy gunfire of Operation Amber Wrath is officially over, but the shockwaves from this absolute beatdown will rattle the windows in Tehran and around the entire world for decades. The cold, hard numbers tell a story that cannot be spun. Iran and Apo's massive opening salvo, their ultimate gamble to break American power, just became the single most expensive and embarrassing mistake in the history of warfare. 350 targets instantly shredded by a defense net that looks like pure magic to the enemy, but is just a basic coding task for the Americans. Not a single dent on the American fleet. Not one sailor injured. In return, they got the total dismantling of their military society. America just laid it out perfectly clear that the gap between a country trying to buy old hardware and a superpower that practically invented the digital battlefield is not measured in distance. It is measured in the absolute willpower to annihilate. Tehran dreamed of a new Pearl Harbor to embarrass the West, but all they managed to do was sign the death warrant for their own future. The stubborn arrogance of their leaders marched their own troops straight into a high-tech blender with the doors locked. As the thick smoke and fallout from the shattered research labs blow away in the red evening sun setting over the Strait of Hormuz, one terrifying truth remains. Never confuse American patience for weakness, because while they might stay quiet for a long time, when that hammer finally swings, it will absolutely crush everything in its path until you are nothing but a tiny, forgotten footnote about the fatal cost of pure delusion. This brutal lesson is a titanium warning shot to anyone else thinking about testing the waters. When you decide to shoot at a superpower, you are not just risking your military, you are betting your entire nation and Apos' right to exist. 45 minutes to wipe a rocket empire off the map. 45 minutes to completely rewrite what absolute dominance looks like today. From this moment on, the map of the Middle East is fundamentally changed, and the name Iran will simply be remembered as a massive, tragic failure of ancient thinking trying to fight the future. What do you think about this absolutely mind-bending display of force? Do you think the rest of the world is going to take notes after watching an entire military empire simply evaporate in less than an hour? Drop your deepest thoughts down in the comments because I want to read your take on this. And hey, if you want to support the raw power of modern tech, smash that like button, subscribe to NavX Intel, and turn on the bell so you never miss out on the next jaw-dropping global showdown. Always remember, diplomacy might start the conversation, but absolute firepower will forever be the one to finish it.